All right, well, I'm Stacy Campbell. I'm the division manager for the Lone Star Division. I'm here to talk to you today about the power of the base pay program and utilizing that base pay appropriately. I want to start off by going through some things in the training seminar in order to utilize it properly and set up the proper expectations of the base pay program in the training itself. The base pay program is obviously not a scary thing, but a positive thing if utilized appropriately, and should drive good activity, meaning many appointments early in the rep's career in order for them to have motivation to do more appointments. That's what the base pay is there for. So I want to start off and cover some things as far as the criteria, the qualifications of the base pay from the training perspective. So one of the first steps is to making sure that it's utilized appropriately and not abused by a representative or mismanaged by a manager is during the training seminar. During the training seminar, you obviously cover the sales representative agreement with the representative to make sure that they know the criteria. These criteria are also already covered during the interview itself, so they know the criteria that exists, and this is a review and a clarification of everything. So I'm just going to kind of go through it with you, very similar to what a person would do what a manager would do during a training seminar itself. So the first thing I'll cover is during the criteria as I get to the part about the actual criteria itself. So qualified Cutco sales presentation must meet the following criteria. A potential customer must be at least 25 years of age. So obviously we mentioned to you yesterday that most of our really quality customers are over the age of 30, between the ages of 30 and 60, but the company will pay you for anybody over the age of 25. But if you really want to make a lot of sales and have the best opportunity, who would your best appointments be with? And generally your representative then will answer with 30 to 60 year old people. Second point you make then is a potential customer must be gainfully employed on a permanent basis. Or in the case of a married couple, the full presentation must be given in the presence of the person who is employed. So in order to cover this appropriately, we want to ask this question. So does it make sense why we want to show to somebody who has a job? Because if somebody does not have an income, would they be able to buy? Probably not. So we ask you to show it to people who are over the age of 25 because they're the most likely to purchase. And some people ask, well, what about a person who's, what if my 19-year-old friend wants to buy something? Well, what's the answer to that? Well, absolutely, you can sell to them. We just can't pay you for the base pay on that. But again, if you sell more than $150 at 10%, then you'd make $15, which depending on your base pay may be more, or you could use $170 or $200 as the example. So if somebody asks that question about the people under the age, you can always just say, well, that person wants to buy, then go show it to them. However, we know as a company that most of those people aren't going to purchase here between the ages of 18 and 25, and our best customers are 30 to 60. The same point goes for people who are unemployed or have no income. If a person has no income, do you think they're probably going to buy? Probably not. But if a representative feels like that there's someone who has no income who's going to buy from them, well, that's obviously something they could go do an appointment, but again, we can't pay them the base pay on that. Okay, so the point A, person must be at least 18 years or 25 years of age. Again, if somebody's younger, if you do an appointment, we can't pay for that. However, our focus is on 30 to 60. Point B, in the presence of the person who is employed, we always maybe ask the question, what about the housewife type person? An easy answer is, as long as the household that you're showing it to has an income coming into it, then we will pay you for that appointment. Okay, is what we'll do. Point C then is sales reps must conduct a complete presentation. So I would always ask the representatives, so what part of the presentation should you do? And the answer obviously is the whole presentation. What do we consider to be a whole presentation? Including all visual demos and quoting of the prices. So we would consider that to be a full and complete appointment is what that would be. So why do we want to do all the cutting demonstrations and quote the prices? Because that gives us a chance to do what? To make a sale. So basically we have these criteria set up that you show it to people over 25, you show it to people who basically have an income, and you show it to people, or you show a full presentation to the people, and what you end up with then is an opportunity to make a sale in the process. The spirit of our base pay program is that you do an appointment with what intent? And that intent is to sell. And you can ask that question of your representative. So when we do an appointment, we do the appointment with what intent? And that intent is to create an order. And that's why we have these criteria set up. The last thing then is the presentation must be one-on-one with a customer, so we don't do Cutco parties, which obviously is designed to make it better for a representative and for a customer, and obviously can be referenced very easily since you get paid for each appointment you do. How many appointments do you want to do? Yes, as many as possible. So it's one-on-one, one household at a time. That doesn't mean, by the way, that you go to an appointment with mom, and then you do one with dad who lives in the same house, and then with your 25-year-old sister who lives in the same house. It's one household at a time is obviously how that appointment would work. Point D on your sales rep agreement is about the qualified presentation report that you then hand out to the representatives. At this point, it says the sales rep agrees to physically submit to the office manager for tracking purposes a qualified presentation report every week. It says the company reserves the right to contact the people listed on the report for verification. The base pay under the minimum program is X number of dollars times the qualified presentations. There is no minimum number of appointments or sales required for the base pay, and the base pay period is 1 week. So you have them fill in the 1 week there, and at the end of the base pay period, the total number of appointments that a rep has completed is compared then to the total commissions earned. If the commissions on the orders are less than the total commissions earned on the minimum pay or the base pay, the company will pay the difference on the next commission statement. So again, do we pay both? No, we pay whichever one is bigger in that respect. So in other words, the representative is guaranteed to make at least the base pay regardless of the number of appointments or regardless of the number of sales that a person does make in the process. So when covering the qualified presentation report, you would pass it out then to the representatives, have them put their name at the top, have them put their rep number at the top as they speak, explain to them that when they turn in their qualified presentation report, it needs to have a name and a rep number on it. It would be similar to turning in a time card without a name on it. It's kind of tough to pay someone who has no, it's hard to pay someone for something that doesn't exist. So have them fill it out and then explain to them how to fill it out. Date and time you see the person, the name, address, and phone number of the person. So fill that in accordingly. List what they purchased, if they did not purchase, why they did not purchase. It's easy to explain to the representative. If they bought a homemaker set, write in homemaker set. If they bought a paring knife, write in paring knife. If the customer did not buy, do not write into the blank, they did not buy. Okay, we know they did not buy. However, what we want to know is why they didn't buy. And the reason we want to know that is because if you, as a representative, get the same exact reason for not purchasing over and over again, as a manager, we can adjust your demo in order to help solve that problem. Even if a representative had 10 appointments on here, 6 orders for $1,500 of sales, and the other 4 sales had the exact same reason for not buying, the other 4 appointments had the exact same reason for not purchasing, then we would obviously be able to immediately go and make some adjustments to the appointment. So in other words, you fill out your qualified presentation report the right way. It says HW and S, so husband, wife, and single. So who was there during the appointment? Was it the husband? Was it the wife? Was it a single person? So if it was a husband and a wife, you put H and W, just the wife, put a W. Now, obviously, as we covered with you yesterday, in the training, and again here just a few minutes ago, who's the best people to show it to? Wife. So this first weekend, all of your appointments really should have the wife there, and there really shouldn't be any single people during these initial appointments. The number of leads that a person gets, so this would be the total volume of referrals or leads that they give you. CPO is how much they purchased, which if you have not taught this already in your training seminar, you can reference that you will teach them this obviously as the training continues, and then verified by manager. Then this is an important part of how you cover this in your training. That once you explain how to fill it out the proper way, you read at the bottom to them, every 10 presentations must be reviewed by your manager. Presentations in excess of 10 will not count toward the minimum incentive program, the base pay program, unless you received a new qualified presentation report from your manager. So very simply what I explained to them is this. At the end of every 10 appointments, you turn this in to us, we sign it off, and we give you a new form. The reason we do this is because we want to help you to succeed. How many of you want our help? And generally speaking, 99% of the people will then raise their hand and say, yes, I want the help. At that point, then you say, okay, great, here's how we're going to help you. At the end of every 10 appointments, you will turn it in to us. We will then take those appointments, we'll review it with you, help you to become better, and give it back. Now, what if a representative has 12 appointments this weekend between Saturday and Sunday before advanced training on Monday? Is that going to be a big deal? No. You just keep in touch with us over the course of this weekend. If you're 2 over, we'll give you another sheet on Monday morning that you'll fill out accordingly, and that way you'll make sure that it's on there. What we don't want to see is this. We don't want to see somebody who fills out 10 appointments on the front, on the back, fills out 10 more appointments, grabs a separate sheet of notebook paper, fills out another 10 appointments, and then brings them into us and goes, here, I need to get paid for 30 appointments. If a representative does that, how many are they going to get paid for? Yes, 10, exactly. They're going to get paid for 10. So just so you're aware, we want to be able to help you. If you're a couple over, if you're a couple under, no big deal, we'll help out accordingly. And the other thing is, if somebody goes out of town, because we have many representatives who goes, well, I'm going to see my family in this particular town. What would I do in that situation? Before you leave, you'll communicate with us, the management, that you're going to be leaving and you're wanting to complete 20, 30, 40, 50 appointments, however that might be, and we'll set up a time for you to do this over the phone if you're out of town. So that way, no matter what, after every 10 appointments, we're able to review the appointments with you and help you to get better. Does that sound fair? Great. So we want to help you get better at the position as you go, and that's why we want to be able to have the qualified presentation reports for you as we go. So those are the steps in the training to set it up properly. And remember to make sure that you understand that when you're doing this with a representative or with a training class, again, the preface of everything is that when you're going through point 2 on your sales rep agreement, as you're reading through it, takes literally 5 minutes or less to go through it, is that as you're going through it, remember say, well, the spirit of the base pay program is that you do the appointments with what intent? And that intent is to make a sale. So all these are set up to help you to become more successful, because if you do the appointments the way you're taught, you can earn a lot more than the base pay program. And you don't want to be that person who shoots to make the minimum. An easy example I was taught many years ago was, one of, all professional sports leagues have a base pay that a person has to make. If they are a professional athlete in the NFL, there's a base amount that they have to make. They cannot make less than that. But how many pro athletes shoot to make the base pay? None of them. They all work hard, train hard, try to eat right, work at things that they do in order to make more. Well, that's what we want to see our reps do. We have a base pay for all of our representatives, but we don't want anyone shooting for the base pay. We want them to work hard for that base pay, but we don't want them to settle for the base pay when there's more. That's why we set up criteria to help them out in the process. Here are the criteria. You review it with them. They understand that the goal of this is to make more than the base pay. However, the base pay is there for them as you go. So that's the steps that you would take in training to set up the base pay program.